There's a leak behind your wall right now. You can't see it, you can't hear it. The drywall looks fine, the paint looks fine, everything looks exactly the way it did yesterday, and then the water bill shows up and it's 3 times what it should be, and you spend 20 minutes convinced the company made a mistake before you find the wet patch in the carpet that's been growing for months. That's what being nice with your money looks like, not a dramatic loss. A slow one, hidden inside the walls of your own habits, that you only discover when someone finally hands you the bill. Here's the bill. 6 months ago, you solved a problem at work that was costing your company $40,000. You didn't charge for it because nobody asked you to, and asking felt greedy. You just fixed it on a Tuesday afternoon between your actual responsibilities because you're the kind of person who helps. Your coworker said, "You're the best," and meant it. Then they walked into a meeting you weren't in, and your $40,000 fix became a single bullet point on their slide. They got the credit. You got, "You're the best." Notice what actually happened there. You didn't get robbed. Nobody took anything from you. You handed it over voluntarily and called it being a good teammate. There are 2 types of people watching this video right now, and only one of them is going to recognize themselves in what I just described. The average person hears that story and thinks about the coworker, gets angry on your behalf, decides that person was a snake. The strategist hears that story and asks a different question. Why did the $40,000 leave the building with no name attached to it in the first place? One person is looking for someone to blame. The other is looking for the moment the leak started. Machiavelli never once said you had to be cruel to survive. He said something colder than that and far more useful. It is not the people around you who decide your worth. It is whether you ever bothered to put a price on it. Most people never do. They just keep being helpful, keep being easy, keep being the best, and wonder years later why everyone else's house got bigger while theirs stayed exactly the same size. This is the part nobody tells nice people. The leak isn't your coworker. The leak is you, and the faucet you never learn to turn off. The Machiavellian route. 500 years ago, a political advisor named Niccolo Machiavelli wrote something that got him labeled dangerous for the next 5 centuries. He said, "It's safer to be feared than to be loved." Not because cruelty is good, because of a much colder, much more practical reason. Love is a gift other people choose to give you, and they can take it back the second it's inconvenient. Fear, or in our world, consequence, doesn't depend on anyone's mood. It just sits there, permanent, doing its job, whether people like you that day or not. Translate that out of politics and into your bank account, and it becomes the most important financial lesson nobody ever taught you. Goodwill is not a payment method. It feels like one. It is not one. Picture 2 bridges. The first one was built on a handshake. A neighbor's promise to maintain it, repair it when it cracks, keep it standing because he said he would. The second one was built on concrete and steel, engineered to hold weight regardless of how anyone feels about you on a given Tuesday. Both bridges look identical from a distance. You only find out which one you actually built the day you need to cross it under pressure, and one of them holds. And the other one was never anything but a promise wearing the shape of a bridge. Now here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. You've been building the handshake bridge your entire career, and you didn't even know you were doing it. This is the actual root of everything we're about to cover. Not cruelty, structure. The people who get paid on time aren't the ones everyone likes most. They're the ones who stopped asking to be liked and started building something that holds regardless. Rule 1. Negotiate or subsidize. Imagine a vending machine with 2 slots. One says pay full price. The other says pay whatever you feel like. Most people would laugh at the second slot. Nobody's that careless with their own money, right? And yet that's exactly the slot most people choose every time someone offers them a number, a salary, a rate, a price, and they just say, okay, that works, without ever testing whether it was the real number or just the first one. Here's what nobody tells you about that first offer. It was never the real number. It was the starting number, the opening bid, the amount someone decided to say out loud, fully expecting the possibility that you'd ask for more. When you don't ask, you're not being agreeable. You're choosing the second slot on the vending machine, and the difference between what you paid and what you could have paid doesn't disappear. It goes somewhere, usually into someone else's bonus. Two candidates get offered the same job, same company, same salary number on the table, $65,000. The first one says, "Thank you," accepts on the spot, feels grateful to have been chosen. The second one pauses, says, "I was hoping we could land closer to 73, and the hiring manager, who had room in the budget the entire time, says, "Let me see what I can do," and comes back at 73,000. Same job, same desk, same first day. One conversation, maybe 5 minutes long, cost nothing, risked nothing, and created an $8,000 gap that didn't exist the day before. Now run that $8,000 forward, not just this year, every year, with raises calculated as a percentage of a number that started $8,000 higher. Over a decade, that single 5-minute conversation is worth more than most people's actual savings account. The first candidate worked exactly as hard, showed up just as early, stayed just as late. The only difference between them was a sentence they were too uncomfortable to say out loud. The average person treats the first number like a final answer, because asking for more feels like asking for too much. The strategist treats the first number like a question because they understand that companies build room into every offer, and somebody is always going to claim that room. The only thing left to decide is whether it's going to be you. Rule 2. Discounting yourself is a loan you never collect on. Walk into a store where every single rack has a permanent clearance sign on it. Not a seasonal sale, not a one-time event. Every item, every week, marked down. After a while, nobody in that store thinks, "What a deal." They think, "This is just what this stuff is worth." The discount didn't make the product feel more valuable. It told everyone permanently what the real price actually is. Now here's the part that should bother you. You've done this to yourself, professionally, more than once, and called it being flexible. A consultant has a long-term client. Good relationship, easy to work with, pays on time. 1 month, things are tight for the client, so she offers a quick favor rate just this once to help them out. The client says, "Thank you," pays the lower rate, and the relationship continues, except the rate doesn't go back up. Not next month, not the month after. 18 months later, that same consultant is charging every new client 40% more for the exact same work, while her oldest, most loyal client is still quietly paying the "just this once" price because nobody ever said it was temporary out loud, and nobody ever has to bring up a discount that's working in their favor. Think of every discount, every free favor, every "I'll just do this one for you" as a loan, not a gift. A loan with no paperwork, no interest, and worst of all, no due date you ever set. A real bank would never operate this way. A real bank writes down the amount, the interest rate, and the exact date the money comes back. You, on the other hand, hand out loans on a handshake and somehow expect repayment to happen automatically, through gratitude, through loyalty, through a referral that never quite materializes. It rarely does, not because people are dishonest, because you never asked for the loan to be repaid, and almost nobody volunteers to pay back a debt the lender forgot they were owed. The average person sees a discount as generosity, something that builds goodwill for later. The strategist sees it as a precedent, a number that's now permanently associated with their name in that client's mind. One of them is hoping to get paid back eventually. The other already knows. If you didn't write down the terms, there were never any terms to begin with. Rule 3. 1 hard boundary. Pays for itself forever. There's a store in every town with a sign by the register that says, "No refunds, no exceptions." Half the customers ignore it completely because they've learned somewhere along the way that signs like that are usually just suggestions, rules for other people. And then one day someone tries it anyway, asks for a refund on something clearly used, gets told no, firmly, no raised voice, no scene, just no. Word travels fast in a small town. Within a month, nobody tries it anymore. Not because the sign changed, because everyone now knows the sign is real. That's the entire secret, and it's smaller than people want it to be. You don't need to be difficult with everyone. You need to be difficult exactly once, in exactly the right moment, and let that single moment do the work for the next several years. A contractor spends years letting late payments slide. A client pays 5 days late. He says nothing. Pays a week late. He says nothing. This becomes the unspoken policy of his entire business, communicated through silence. Pay whenever it's convenient for you. Then one client pays 10 days late. And for reasons even he couldn't fully explain that morning, he adds a penalty fee to the invoice. Not a huge amount, just enough to notice. The client pays it, a little surprised, mentions it to exactly one other person in passing. That conversation is now doing more work for this contractor than every polite reminder email he's ever sent combined. Clients he's never even discussed payment terms with start paying on time, automatically, because the story got there before he did. This is the part most people get backwards. They think respect comes from being agreeable in every single interaction. It doesn't. The average person tries to earn trust through constant flexibility, bending every time, hoping enough bending eventually adds up to respect. It never does. It just adds up to a reputation as someone who bends. The strategist understands something colder. One boundary, enforced without apology, is worth more than 1,000 polite requests, because people don't remember what you asked for. They remember what you actually did the one time it counted. You don't need a new policy for every client. You need one moment you were finally willing to enforce the policy you already had. The compounding cost of politeness. Open 2 retirement accounts on the same day with the exact same amount of money in each. One earns 2% a year, the other earns 9%. For the first few years, the difference is almost invisible, a few dollars, not worth mentioning at a dinner table. Nobody panics over a gap that small. By year 30, the gap isn't a gap anymore, it's a different life. Same starting point, same amount of time, and one account holds multiple times more than the other. Not because of one dramatic decision, but because of a small percentage repeated year after year without anyone noticing it compounding in real time. This is the part that should genuinely unsettle you, because it's not a metaphor anymore. It's your actual income. Take someone who undercharges or undernegotiates by just $5,000 a year. Not a huge number. The kind of gap that comes from one skipped negotiation, one discount that became permanent, one invoice nobody followed up on. Run that $5,000 across a 30-year career. Factor in what it would have earned if it had simply been invested instead of quietly handed to someone else. And the number stops being $5,000. It becomes a 6-figure sum sitting in someone else's account, someone else's bonus, someone else's bottom line. That should have been theirs. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to give away 6 figures. That would feel insane to actually choose. So instead, it happens in pieces too small to notice. A first offer accepted without a question. A favor that became a standing discount. A late payment that went unmentioned because bringing it up felt awkward. Each individual moment is genuinely too small to fight about. That's exactly what makes the pattern so dangerous. Nothing about it ever feels like the moment that mattered. The average person looks at their bank account and sees a single number, flat, static, just what they have. The strategist looks at the same number and sees a 30-year graph still being drawn, where every small moment of saying yes too fast is quietly bending the line downward. One of them thinks the story is already finished. The other knows it's still being written, one negotiation at a time. A castle gate doesn't have to stay closed to everyone forever. It just stops being open to everyone by default. Anyone can still walk through, the door isn't locked, the kingdom isn't sealed off. They just have to pay the toll first. That one small requirement changes everything about who walks through and how they're treated once they're inside. Nobody storms a gate that has a price attached to it. They negotiate or they look elsewhere, and either way, the gate finally gets to decide. Here's where this gets real for you. Today, in the next 24 hours, somebody is going to ask you for a discount, a favor, or just this one exception. It might be a client, a friend, a relative, someone at work who's learned exactly how to phrase a request so saying no feels rude. And you already know before it even happens that some part of you is preparing to say yes for free, instantly, the same way you always have. Don't. Not because the person asking is wrong to ask. People ask for free things constantly. That's not the problem. The problem has only ever been on your side of the conversation, in the half second where you decide whether your time, your work, your name comes with a number attached to it or not. Every single example in this video, the contractor, the consultant, the two candidates split by $8,000, started in that exact half second. Nothing dramatic. Just a small pause where one person said a number out loud and the other one didn't. You don't need to become someone else to do this. You don't need to be cold or difficult or unrecognizable to the people who know you. You just need to stop being the version of yourself who gives the kingdom away before anyone even asks for the toll. Name a number first. See what happens. That's it. That's the whole gate.